Welcome back to On the Same Page. We are on Daf Chaf Amud Beis, 20b of Meseches Megillah, and we are starting from the Mishnah in the middle of the page. The Mishnah says, Kol hayom kasher l'kriyas ha-Megillah. The entire day is valid for reading the Megillah. Right? The last Mishnah talked about the earliest time to start to do the mitzvah of Megillah and other mitzvahs that are daytime mitzvahs. We said that ideally one should wait till sunrise, till nates, but if one did it from Amud HaShachar, from dawn, then it's good enough. So our Mishnah now says, and these daytime mitzvahs, you have the whole day to do them. Kol hayom kasher l'kriyas Megillah, the whole day is kosher, is valid for reading the Megillah, u'lekriyas ha-Hallel, and for reciting Hallel on days that we have to recite Hallel, u'letkiya shofar, and for blowing the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, you have the whole day, u'lenetilas lulav, and for taking a lulav on Sukkos, u'letfilas ha-musafin, and for davening musaf on any day where there's a musaf, which is any special day basically, Shabbos, Yantif, Rosh Chodesh, u'lemusafin, and in days where they brought karbanos, where we had a Beis HaMikdash, we brought offerings, the karban musaf, which is what the tefillah of musaf is modeled after, the karban musaf, the additional offering for the holidays and Shabbos, you had all day to bring it. Ulevidoi haparim. Also, for vidoi parim. So this is referring to certain ox offerings, bull offerings, I guess actually, parim, that were brought to atone for either a error that the Sanhedrin made that affected all the people, or an error that affected the king, the Kohen Gadol. So one is called Par Kohen HaMashiach, one is Par Helam Davar Shel Tzibur. So there were bulls that were brought, and there was a vidoy, there was a confession that was said over them, and that has to be during the day, but you have the whole day to do it. So I just note, this list of things is not only, we're saying in this Mishnah you have all day to do them, but we're also saying that they have to be done during the day, and they're not done at night. Uba vidoy meiser. Also the vidoy, the confession that's said over meiser. It's really more of a proclamation. The commentaries explain why we call it a vidoy, but after you go through the meiser cycle, so the meiser has kind of a 3-year cycle. The first year there's meiser rishon. Really, all 3 years there's meiser rishon. Meiser rishon is a tithe, a tenth that goes to Leviim. All 3 years you do that. Then there's something called meiser sheni, which is where you separate 10% of your produce and bring it to the Beis HaMikdash, or bring it to Yerushalayim and consume it in Yerushalayim. That's done in the first year of the cycle and the second year of the cycle, but not the third year. The third year, instead of that, you take 10% and give it to the poor, meiser ani. And then the cycle starts again for the 4th, 5th, and 6th year of the Shemitah cycle. So again, like a 3-year meiser cycle again, and then the 7th year is Shemitah, there's no meiser. So after the 3 years though, the following Pesach, a person would declare that if they did, they either get rid of all the meiser that's left, or they have to destroy any meiser that they have remaining, or they would declare that they got rid of everything, they gave away everything they were supposed to give. That's called vidoy meiser. So that has to be done during the day, is what we're saying now. And you have the whole day to do it. Ulevidoi Yom HaKippurim. As well as the vidoy that the Kohen Gadol would say on Yom Kippur, to the confession that he would make for the people, for himself. So that also has to be done during the daytime of Yom Kippur. It can't be done at night. Now additionally, other things that have to be done during the day are the various components of bringing karbanos, bringing offerings. So one is l'smicha. Smicha is placing your hands down on the animal. L'shchita, slaughtering the animal. L'tenufa, karbanos that involved waving, either certain types of mincha, or I think a carbon toda involved waving. Lahagasha, bringing the carbon mincha. The carbon mincha is a flour offering. Bringing the flour near the mizbeach. That's called hagasha. L'kemitza. Then the process of separating out some of the flour, which is going to go onto the mizbeach. That's called kemitza. It's like a fistful. Lehaktara. Burning the flour that's going to go onto the mizbeach. That portion that you separated out goes onto the mizbeach. The rest goes to the kohanim. Limalika. So a bird offering has a special type of shchita, a special type of slaughtering called malika, which is done with the kohen's thumb nail. Ulakabala, and receiving the blood after shechting either an animal or a bird offering, where the offerings involve sprinkling the blood, so they would catch the blood in a bowl. That's called kabbalah. Ulahazaya, the sprinkling of the blood on either the mizbeach or sometimes on the paroches, on the curtain. Ulahashkayas sota, giving a sota to drink. When a woman becomes a sota, she's accused, she accuses herself with a man, gets warned, she accuses herself again, she becomes a sota, she's brought to the Beis HaMikdash, and she drinks sota water. That has to be done during the day. Ula rifa sa'agala, breaking the neck of the egla rufa. We're really going on like a tour of the whole Torah here. So when a corpse is found dead between two cities, we don't know who killed him, we don't know how he died. So, but I guess I suppose it's where we can tell that he was murdered. So one of the cities has to kind of accept responsibility, and they atone by bringing an egla, by axing the back of a calf. That's the egla rufa from the end of Parshas Shoftim. So that has to be done during the day. Ugatairas hamitzora, the purification process of samamad tzoras. So there involves birds and dipping in blood, and that's all done during the day. So all of those things have to be done during the day, but you can do it, you have the whole day to do it. In general, we say, Zrizim akdim l'mitzvahs, the earlier the better, but you have all day to do it. Now, kol halayla kosher, now the whole night is kosher for certain things. For what? L'ketiras ha'omer. So the carbon omer, the flour offering, the omer offering, which was brought, it's from barley flour, on the second day of Pesach. So it was harvested the night before, during the night. So you have all night to do it. Ulahekter chalavim ve'evarim. Sorry, actually, the Omer. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Lahekter evarim, lahekter chalavim ve'evarim. So also to burn the fats and the limbs that did not get consumed by the mizbeach during the day. All karbanos are brought during the day, but sometimes something doesn't get burned on the mizbeach. It pops off from the chemicals and the heat, so it can be returned to the mizbeach all night long. And those are the things done at night. Not much. There are some other things, but this is what's mentioned here. Zehaklal. So here's the general rule. Davar shemitzvaso bayom kasher kol hayom. Anything that the mitzvah is to do it during the day, you have all day to do it. Davar shemitzvaso balayla kasher kol halayla. Anything whose mitzvah is at night, you have all night to do it. That's the rule. Fine. Ask the Gemara minalan. From where do we know really all of these things? And we're going to go through all the things the Mishnah mentioned and source them for how we know that the ones that we said should be done during the day, what's the source that they're done during the day? The ones that we say at night, what's the source that they're done at night? So we start with Megillah. So the Amarkra, because the pasuk says Vayamim ha'elan nizkarim v'na'asim, that these days shall be remembered. So it says days. So again, as I mentioned last time on last Amud, the simple reading of this verse is that the days of Purim should be remembered, not necessarily that Purim is during the day. So either you have to read it as, that the Gemara is reading as, on these days it should be remembered, meaning the Megillah should be read, or it could be coming from the later part of the pasuk, where it says, that these days of Purim should never pass, and that calls Purim a daytime. Because the beginning of the pasuk, these days should be remembered, doesn't say that you have to remember it during the day. It just says it should be remembered. But when it calls Purim the day of Purim, so then it sounds like it's during the day that we do the remembering. Maybe that's the source. Okay, L'kriyas HaHallel. How do we know Hallel is during the day? D'chsiv, because we say in one of the chapters of Hallel, we say Mimizrach Shemesh ad Mevo'o, from the rising of the sun until its setting, Mulal Shem Hashem, we praise Hashem. So we see the praising of Hashem, of Hallel, is done between the rising of the sun and the setting of the sun during the daytime. Rabbi Yossi says a different source. Some of Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef says, Zeh hayom asa Hashem, a different verse from Hallel. This is the day that Hashem has made. So, we should rejoice in it. So, we kind of declare this is a day for rejoicing. And it says the day. So, Hallel is during the day. How do we know that lulav, the mitzvah of lulav on Sukkot, is during the day? D'chsiv, because it says, you should take for yourself the four minim, the four species, by Yom Harishon, on the first day of Sukkot. So it's during the day. Uletikiyah shofar. How do we know that we blow the shofar during the day of Rosh Hashanah? D'chsiv Yom Trua Yelachem, because the pasuk says it should be a day of blasts, of shofar blast. So that teaches me that it's the daytime that we have the shofar blast, not the nighttime. Ule musafin. How do we know that the carbon musaf for each holiday is brought during the day? D'chsiv, because it says Dvar Yom B'Yomo. It says that these are the matters for each thing for its day. That's talking about the carbon musaf and other things, but the musafin, it's talking about the musafin there. So each thing on its day. So it sounds like it's during the day that the carbon musaf is brought. Uga tfilas hamusafin. Now, how do we know that our musaf, when we daven musaf, it has to be during the day? Kimusafin shabiur rabbanan, because the rabbis who enacted davening musaf made it like the carbon musaf, and we just showed that the carbon musaf has to be during the day. So davening musaf, which corresponds to that, should also have to be during the day. Uga vidoy parim, the vidoy, the confession that was said over those bull offerings that were brought for mistakes by the Kohen Gadol or by the Sanhedrin that affected the whole congregation. So what's the source that it should be during the day? Diyalev kapara miyom kippurim. Because we'll learn a Gezerah Shava, we'll learn to compare kapara, the atonement. It's not actually a Gezerah Shava, it's not I don't think it's the word itself. But it's the idea that the vidoy that's said over the parim, over the calves, is to atone. And on Yom Kippur, there's a vidoy to atone as well. And that has to be done during the day. That was mentioned in the Mishnah, actually. Vidoy Yom Kippurim. So we're going to source that now, too. What's the source? Tanya, we're learning a brisa. Gabe Yom Kippurim, by Yom Kippur, the pasuk says, V'chiper ba'ado v'ad beiso, that the Kohen Gadol will atone for himself and for his household. Now, what kind of atonement is that talking about? Is it talking about bringing a carbon to atone, or is it talking about vidoy dvarim? Is it talking about a confession by lips, with the mouth, a verbal confession? Says the Gemara, says the Brisa, b'chaparas dvarim hakasa medaber. It's talking about a confession in the mouth, not an atonement. It's an atonement through the mouth, not through the carbon. How do we know? So our Gemara doesn't say, but Rashi tells us, because this is said before, this pasuk appears before you actually take the animal and do what you're supposed to do with it. So it sounds like already now there's some kind of atonement that's taking place. It must be through a verbal confession. And we know that the confession occurs, or that the atonement occurs during the day of Yom Kippur. How do we know? Because the pasuk says, that on this day, Yom Kippur, he will atone for you. So it says he will atone for you by Yom in the daytime. And the atonement is achieved apparently through, at least in part, the vidui of the Kohen Gadol, the confession of the Kohen Gadol. And so that has to be during the day. So vidui of Yom Kippur has to be during the day. And just like vidui of Yom Kippur has to be during the day, and that's an atonement, so to the atonement of achieved through the vidui that goes with those bull offerings for the errors of the Sanhedrin or the Kohen Gadol, so those also are brought. That vidui also has to be during the daytime. Okay, with vidui meiser, what about vidui meiser, that proclamation that one makes when they have finished the meiser cycle, that they did everything in accordance with the Torah? D'chsiv, because the pasuk says, "V'amarto l'fnei Hashem Elokecha," that you shall say before Hashem your God, "Bi'arti hakodesh min habayis." I got rid of all the kodesh, all the holy stuff, all the meiser from my house. I did what I was supposed to do. And shortly after that, the Torah says, "Hayom hazeh Hashem Elokecha mitzavcha." This day, Hashem commands you. So that pasuk actually is kind of just moving. It's no longer talking about meiser. It's the beginning of the next section in the Parshas Kisavo, but it says, "Today I'm commanding you to keep all the mitzvos," and it's juxtaposed. It's found right after vidui meiser. So the Gemara is making is darshan is learning out that Vag Hayom is also going back on the vidui meiser, that it's today, it's the same day that we're talking about, that was also to be done during the day. L'smicho l'shlita. So in preparing the karban, there was smicha, placing one's hands on the karban, shlita, and then slaughtering it. So how do we know that has to be done during the day? D'chsiv, because it says, v'samach v'shachat. It says, v'samach es yado al rosh karbono. He should place his hands, he should lean his hands on the head of the karban, v'shachat also, and shecht it. This is in Parshas Vayikra. So it mentions smicha and shchita next to each other. The placing of the hands and the shchita and the slaughtering next to each other. So, or the leaning, really, and the slaughtering. So, uksiv ba b'shchita, and with regards to shchita, the pasuk says, biyom zivchachem, on the day of your slaughtering. So, we know that slaughtering is during the day, and smicha is right next to slaughtering, so they're both during the day. Uletnufa, how do we know that when you wave a karban, it's during the day? D'chsiv b'yom hanivchem es ha'omer, because with regards to the karban omer, it says on the day that you wave the omer. So tenufa, at least by the omer, is during the day, and it seems we'll learn from there that other tenufas, other wavings are to be done during the day too. Ulehagasha, bringing the karban mincha, the flower offering close to the mizbeach, that has to be done during the day. De'iskish tenufa, because it's compared to tenufa, to the waving, d'chsiv, because the pasuk says, "V'lakach hakohen miyad ha'isha es minchas ha'kenaos," that the kohen will take. This is talking about the karban of a sota. She has a special kind of karban mincha, and it says that the kohen will take from her hands this minchas kenaos, this karban mincha of kina, of jealousy, of warning. V'nif, and he'll wave it, v'ikriv, and he'll bring it. So she brings it. So he takes it and he waves it, and then he brings it, which includes hagasha, which includes bringing it close. So we said the waving is during the day, and now he's going to bring the flower offering to the mizbeach and bring it as a karban. So you see the hagasha also should be during the day. The bringing of the flower to the mizbeach should be during the day. Ule malika, ule kamitza, ule haktara, ule hazaya. All of these four things, the slaughtering of the bird with the Kohen's fingernail, l'kamitza, the scooping of the flour offering, l'aktara, the burning of the flour on the mizbeach, u'lehazaya, and the sprinkling of the blood of the various karbanos, all should be during the day, d'chsiv, because it says, b'yom tzavozos b'nei Yisrael. So this is a pasuk that kind of talks about karbanos in general. It says, that Hashem commanded Moshe on Har Sinai, on the day he commanded b'nei Yisrael to bring their karbanos. So it says daytime with regards to bring karbanos in general. So all of these things, which are kind of central to the bringing of karbanos, are all included in that. So these are the main parts of bringing a karban. Malika is the slaughtering, but that's when you get the blood, which you need for the karban. The kamitza is drawing out the flour, that's what you're going to use for the karban. And then the putting the flour on, sprinkling the blood on the mizbeach, that's the key. Those are the core components of many karbanos. And therefore, they're done during the day. Again, because the pasuk says, "B'yom tavos b'nei Yisrael," on the day Hashem commanded, or Moshe commanded b'nei Yisrael regarding bringing the karbanos. So that's during the day. Ulehashkaya sota, the giving the sota to drink from the sota waters is done during the day. How do we know? Asya Torah. It's a gzera shava. We want to compare the word Torah in one place and the word Torah in another place. Ksiv hacha. It says with regards to the sota, V'asala hakohen es kol Torah azos, that the Kohen does for this entire Torah, meaning the teachings regarding the sota he does for her. Uksiv hasamang, it says over there, I think this is in Parshas Mishpatim. No, it's in Dvarim. So it's this is Parshas Shoftim. It says Al Pi Torah Asher Yerucha, based on the Torah that they teach you. It's talking about listening to the rabbis, to the chachamim. It says based on the Torah that they teach you, that they guide you in, ve'al hamishpat, and on the judgments that they tell you. So says the Gemara, top of the next page, ma mishpat bayom afkan bayom. Just like mishpat judgments have to be during the day, that we learn out from a different pasuk that din, court cases and justice judgments are carried out during the day. So just like judgments are during the day, so that pasuk, which is talking about the judgments of the Beis Din, and it says it has there the word Torah, and so too by sota has the word Torah. We want to compare Torah to learn that sota also should be the drinking of the sota, the process of the sota should be done during the day. Ula arifa sagala, the breaking of the neck of the egla arufa should be done during the day. Amri dvei Rabbi Yanai kapara ksiv ba kikachim, because it says kapara, it says atonement, it says like kaper le'amecha Yisrael. There's a declaration that they make when they do it, when they do the egla arufa, and they say it should atone for your nation Israel. So that's an atonement. So we're going to follow the rules of atonement from before, that the atonement of Yom Kippur and the atonement of those special bull offerings for errors made were during the day. So too this will follow that and will be during the day. Uvataris hamatzara, the purification of someone who has tzaras, because it says zos tia taras hamatzara biyom taraso. This will be the guidance for a mitzvah, for someone who has tzaras, on the day that he purifies himself, in the daytime. So that's done during the day. Now, kol halayla kasher l'kshiras omer. We said the whole night is good for harvesting the barley for the karban omer. De amar mar, because it was said, kitzira usfira balayla v'ava bayom. With regards to the omer, the harvesting of it and the counting of it is at nighttime, while the bringing of the karban is during the day. And this is derived in Maseches Menachos. Our Gemara doesn't bring the source for it. Just quotes that it was said, and there's a source over there. Ulehekter chalav memevar. you have all night to burn the limbs and fats that didn't, the fats and limbs that didn't burn on the Mizbeach yet. Tichsev, because the pasuk says, Kol halayla ad haboker, that the ola will be, the carbon ola, the burnt offering will be on the Mizbeach all night long. So you see that you have all night to burn these parts of the carbon. Okay, then the Mishnah concluded with a rule. It said, Zakwal, here's the rule, Davar shemitzvasa bayom kasher kol hayom. Anything that the mitzvah is during the day, you can do, you have all day to do it. Ask the Gemara, Zakwal, asuyemai. What is this rule coming to include? Meaning, we have a pretty nice list. What's missing from the list that has to be done during the day? And maybe, perhaps it's something that specifically we need like a rule to affirm. So, what's it coming to include? It's coming to include the arrangement of the bezichin and the removal of the bezichin. The bezichin were these like large spoons that were on the shulchan next to the lechem hapanim, the showbreads. They were on the shulchan in the Mishkan and in the Beis Mikdash. And they were filled with livona, which is frankincense, whatever that is, some kind of spice stuff, and they would be put on. And basically, with the shulchan, they had bread on it. They had lechem hapanim on it from Shabbos to Shabbos, and each Shabbos it would get switched. So you have all day to switch the lechem hapanim and the bezichin, and these spoons with the frankincense. Ukid Rabbi Yossi, like Rabbi Yossi taught the Tanya, because we learn a brisa. Rabbi Yossi says, "Silikas hayishana shachris, v'siders hachadasha arvis ein bekach klum." If you remove the previous weeks in the morning and you only put a new one on in the evening, that's no problem. Umani mekayim lifnei Hashem tamid. So how do I understand the pasuk that says that you have to have it lechem hapanim there lefanai tamid at all times? Shelo yishulchan below lechem. That means that you can't have, or shelo yalin shulchan below lechem. You can't go overnight without any lechem. But I think what we're saying now is that the rule that says anything that's mitzvahs during the day, you have the whole day to do it. The application here is that you don't need it there the whole day. You have even part of the day will cover the rest of the day. So, as opposed to those who argue on Rabbi Yossi and say that as soon as you take out one, you have to replace the other one. So Rabbi Yossi is saying, no, you have the whole day to do that. As long as it was there during the day, you could replace it at night. So you did the mitzvah during that day, and that's considered lefanai tamid, that it's there at all times. It's not at all times, but it's consistently every day. As long as it's there for part of the day, that is good enough. That's similar to what we're talking about in the Mishnah, which is that you have the whole day to do a mitzvah. You have the whole day to trying to work this out still exactly. Yeah, I'm not completely sure how to say it, because it seems a little bit different to me. Again, the Mishnah, the rule is anything that you have the day to do it, you have all day. So, what this Mishnah is saying, what our Gemara is saying is that this would apply to the lechem hapanim also. Yeah, you have all day to have it on. It doesn't have to be there the whole time, just to be there at some point during the day. Something along those lines. That's like Rabbi Yossi, who says just to be at some point during the day. When it says that it has to be there all times, it means every day. You can't go a whole night without it. Okay. And then we had the rule the other way. Davar shemitzvah b'layla kosher kol layla. Anything whose mitzvah is at night, you have the whole night to do it. Lasuye mai. What's that coming to include? Lasuye achilas psachim. It's coming to include eating the carbon pesach. Udelo Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah, and it would be counter to the opinion of Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah. Detanya, because we're learning a brisa. B'achuas habasar b'layla hazeh. It says that regarding the carbon pesach, they should eat this meat on this night. So the carbon pesach is eaten the night of Pesach, the first night of Pesach. How much time do you have to eat it? So Amar B'Elazar ben Azariah, Nemar kan b'layla hazeh. Here it says on this night, v'nemar la'alon, and it says later, v'avarti b'eretz Mitzrayim b'layla hazeh. Hashem says, I will pass through Egypt on this night. But when did Hashem pass through Egypt? Ma lahalon ad chatzos, afkan ad chatzos. Just like there was only up until midnight, chatzos, halachic midnight, so too, the mitzvah of Karban Pesach, to eat Karban Pesach, it says, you should eat b'layla hazeh, on this night, that's up to midnight, just like when it says, I passed through b'layla hazeh, on this night, that was at chatzos that Makas Bechoros happened, the plague of the firstborn. So Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah says, you only have until chatzos, until midnight. So our Mishnah, which listed certain things and said you have all night to do them, and then it said the rule is anything that the mitzvah is at night, you have all night, it's saying even Karban Pesach. As opposed to Rebbe Elazar ben Azariah, who says, no, you don't have all night. You only have up until Chatzos. Hadra Lacha Korei L'Mafreya. We will return to you, Parak HaKorei HaMafreya, chapter, one who read the Megillah out of order, Parak Sheni, and Mazel Tov, I'm finishing the second chapter, second Parak, and I look forward to learning the next Parak with you, Be'ezer Hashem.